Startups usually go through three stages. The very first one is identifying the problem. And the second one is designing an opportunity of the problem that we identified. And the third one is validating the idea or the opportunity that we have designed. The very first stage, problem identification. A lot of startups doesn't put efforts in this stage, problem identification. It looks very boring for them, and since as a startup they are very excited to start something because they believe in their ideas and they presume a lot of problems that customers are having, and they're not really sure if that's a problem or not. And that's the reason a lot of companies, a lot of startups doesn't put their effort in really understanding the problem. And this is a core issue. I think I personally have seen a lot of organizations that haven't focused at all on problem identification because they are passionate on something that they want to do. The moment you are passionate, you have a bias and you are emotionally attached to the ideas or the vision that you have. And usually the problem identification happens in three ways. When someone faces in person the problem, and the second one is when someone is passionate about a domain and then they try to figure out what's happening in the industry or the fraternity, they find out some problems in the domain. The third one is when someone wants to start a business as a career and then they do a lot of research on that businesses and then they find a gap or an opportunity that they want to board. In this stage problem identification, it is required to do target audience survey, competitor analysis, and customer journey maps. The target audience survey, I think we can do a lot of surveys online as well these days, trying to understand what they have been experiencing, what are the kind of priorities. Here we have to be very conscious because a lot of times what customers say is not what they do, but still we try to gather what they consciously talk about their experiences. And the second one is competitors analysis. We shall try to understand what a lot of co-players in the market are presenting and how they are performing, based upon their success rate, and that way we would be aware of the market landscape, what is available in the market for the consumer. And the third one is customer journey map. This plays a very important role in understanding the kind of touch points or even experiences, the values that are being delivered to customers in different ways at different contexts, or even the communications that are the communication models or the communication strategies that are being used to touch base with the customer. We will have all those details in customer journey map. This customer journey map is something like, we would understand all the possible touch points, all the possible experiences that we can deliver, all the possible values that can be delivered. In the second stage, opportunity designing, once we have done a survey on the target audience, understood what co-players are doing, understood how typically customer journeys are there in the market, then we would come to an understanding who are our target audience. Our buyer persona designing is what we have to do. In the buyer persona designing, the more clear it is, the more focused our marketing or our business efforts are going to be here. The buyer persona designing, there are a lot of tools that in one of my videos I have presented how we can design buyer persona. You can go through that video and you can design buyer personas online. SWOT analysis, yes. SWOT analysis is we have a lot of platforms to design SWOT analysis. Very simple way of understanding what is our strength, what is our weakness. We need SWOT analysis to understand what we do and what we are not going to do. This kind of clarity is very important for us. That will help us in designing the value proposition also. That will even help us in positioning our brand in the market, in terms of marketing, in terms of operations, in terms of value delivering, and in every possible way. And business model, yes, business model plays a very important role in structuring the entire value that you are giving to your customer and experiences as well. So this is a very important thing that keeps on evolving over the journey of the startup. When it comes to market validation, once we have all the clarity in our approach, based upon the buyer personas and our value proposition that we are going to deliver and the business model that we have come up with. We are going to execute this in an MVP model. What do I mean by the MVP model is to start executing only the core value, not to give every convenience to the customer, because our very important aspect at this point of time, the very first time, first iteration, it's very important for us to validate if our value proposition is really valuable to the customer or not. For that, we need to be very specific on what we want to test in the market, what value proposition we want to test. And we don't have to do a lot of work on the branding or the marketing, and we don't have to come up with the online e-commerce stages, e-commerce websites, and everything. We can just validate the true value proposition, the core value that we want to deliver to our customer. OKRs and KPIs. OKR, I have done a video on OKR, and you can go through what OKR is, and that's a absolutely very important aspect for startups to have a clarity on what we are working on, why we are working, and how to measure the outcomes of it, and use the same activities as a feedback for the next iteration coming activities as well. The KPIs are very important for us to know what we are evaluating. Because if something is not measurable, it cannot be managed. So when we are trying to validate in the market through MVP model, we need to have some KPIs to see what is working and what is not working. And pivot or preserve it. And the very reason we have these iterations is we either need to pivot or preserve it. The pivot is nothing but when we see something is working, when we see something is not working, we'll just have to adjust in terms of the customer segments, in terms of the value that we are proposing to the customers, or even the business model, the pricing strategy, and everything. There are a lot of pivots that we can look at in iterations. That's how startups evolve. Here are two important tips for every startup. One, get a mentor. Two, be active in startup ecosystem. Getting a mentor can help you in avoiding a lot of mistakes that you would be doing without a mentor. Mentor can also help you while approaching for investors. Two, being active in startup ecosystem can help you in opening doors for new opportunities through collaborations or other ways as well. And when you participate in startup events, you come to meet a lot of startup people. You can exchange your ideas, insights, and a lot of other help as well you can get from there. And incubators are a very good source or mediators to approach investors. So incubators can help us, can help the startup ecosystem grow or even reach deeper to the investors ecosystem. Industry experts help you understand a lot what's happening in the industry, and that can make sure that you are updated to the industry and updated to the consumers as well in the domain. And startup associations, they are also a very good mediators or a medium to approach investors, at the same time to approach industry experts as well. And we have startup associations like Thai chapters, NASCOM, and others. I hope you find this video insightful in understanding startup ecosystem, and I wish you a great startup ahead.